Welcome to Smart Cherry's Thoughts. This is Sai from India. Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
I am doing well. How about yourself? It's great to connect with you.
I'm I'm great, Mattias. Thank you very much for accepting my request and accepting to be on my show.
Oh, I'm definitely happy to connect with you. So thanks for reaching out.
So you are inspiring so many people in technology by doing multiple roles, and you're contributing to the technology world in multiple ways. So I thought to tell about the work that you're doing to my audience.
Oh, thanks. I'm happy to talk with you. Yeah.
So can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Mattias Andersson, and right now I'm a developer advocate at Pluralsight. And Pluralsight's a company that teaches people about technology. And how I got to be working for Pluralsight is an interesting story, but we can get to that later, maybe, or maybe not. In any case, what I do now is I am often interacting with people to help them learn about technology. So I'm making videos or interacting in different communities or at events or whatever. But I've also been making courses specifically to teach people about cloud computing. And I've also, as a background, had a lot of my work has been largely in software development, starting at Microsoft Office. I was writing software there, and then wound up going on to other software situations and leading software development teams and architecting the systems and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's me.
So I can see on your YouTube channel you are creating content regarding cloud computing, and also you're training people and you're helping them in doing their certifications.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really enjoy about what I'm doing is that I get to introduce a lot of people to technology that can really dramatically change both their work situations in terms of them being able to accomplish more in that situation and also their careers. So it's a personal benefit to so many of those people. So I get to introduce a lot of people. I get to support them along the way as they're learning things, as they're trying to get certifications to prove to themselves and others that they actually do know this stuff now. And then also taking that and turning it into something that works for them at a personal or company level. So I enjoy getting to interact with people at all different parts of the spectrum.
So you are already a solutions architect. So how you are able to do your work and also train new people?
Yeah, so I have always been a person who likes to share what I have learned with the people around me. So even in roles where I wasn't specifically responsible for teaching, I wound up teaching people the things that I had just learned, whether it was something I had learned years ago or something I had learned just minutes ago. I was always interested to help people learn things so that they could also then succeed with that new information. So my teaching is sort of a natural part of what I do. I just interact with people and I try to help as much as I can. And so when I am looking at situations to let's say that I'm trying to architect some sort of a solution. I'm trying to not just give an answer for that particular situation, like the architecture here, do this. That's not really all that successful long term. For that architecture to be successful, the people who are going to then take it and run with it need to understand it so that they can build things that align with it, so that they can then take things about that system and change it because it was either something that I had missed when I came up with it originally, or something that has changed in their situation. All those sorts of things. So I think that it's actually a pretty core part of architecting a solution that you can then also communicate that in a way that people can understand and take as their own going forward. I don't know if that quite answers the question you were asking. Feel free to ask all sorts of follow-up questions. I'm happy to jump into whatever you want to dive into.
There is so much to ask because I can see you're telling so much to the newcomers who wants to start their career in the in the technology. I can see that you are telling in detail in your YouTube channel and in other, all other platforms. So what is cloud and what is this architecture and why any person need to learn it and what is the use of it and how this is playing role in the industry and on this planet?
That's a really great question, and it's a very big one. So let me roll it back somewhat. So the 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 more direct answer to what is cloud could be something like, well, it's a bunch of computing services that you can use as you go, rather than having to buy them up front and all of that. But that's really not getting to the heart of the matter. Cloud is the next level of abstraction in technology in the way that we build systems to solve business problems. So that's what I mean about taking a step back. So fundamentally, information technology, the space in which we work, it's all about having technology that deals with information because that information has some sort of business value. And we're trying to do something with the information to make it more valuable to the business. That's what software is all about. Now, sometimes different organizations will also deal with building their own hardware, but the vast majority of organizations will use more commodity hardware and build some tweaks on top of that to make it work for them. And a really interesting example of this perspective is, so I sometimes ask people, do you know what the world's most popular functional programming language is? And I answered that it's Microsoft Excel because it's not normally thought of as a programming language, but fundamentally it's taking a system and building some extra little bit of software on top of that to solve some sort of business problem. And the way that spreadsheets are structured is that you define one cell as a combination of other cells. So it's basically a function of other inputs. And so you continue that so that you build up, well, this cell is going to be the sum of all these ones, and this cell is going to be the count of all these ones, and then this cell is going to divide the sum by the count so that I get an average. Or maybe you'll learn that, oh, there's already a built-in function for that, and you can call that instead. But the point is that people all over the place are writing software in a functional programming way in Microsoft Excel because it solves their business problems. Now, this seems like I'm not answering the question, what is cloud? But I'm getting there. So the point is that it's all about solving problems, not about doing stuff, right? So there's no value in being a super fast race car driver if you don't actually follow the racetrack. If you're driving around in the parking lot, you're not solving the problem that you've got. So the point is, how can we deal with getting to the solution as efficiently as possible? And that's why we take advantage of technology. That's why so many businesses take advantage of Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets or whatever other thing that they're building their software on, because it's the business solution. So the reason I mention that is because the cloud is about building software systems in a much more efficient way than it used to be the case. So it used to be the case that if you wanted to build a website, you would have to do things like plan out all of the stuff that you're going to build. You'd have to buy hardware predicting predicting forward how many people are going to come to your website in a particular time frame, buy the appropriate amount of hardware, find a place to put it, make sure that you've got whatever level of redundancy your business requires, make sure that you can handle all of the security aspects of it, building all of this stuff entirely on your own, and you have to deal with physical security, like, oh, is that building going to be locked properly? Do they have someone at a counter to stop people from just walking in off the street to take my hardware or install their malware on my website or whatever? All of that stuff is something that you have to deal with. And then if you happen to be successful, that the website is a super mega hit, then you're very sad because your servers can't handle that traffic load. because you only planned for, oh, I don't know, if you were really optimistic, 1,000 visitors of whatever period of time. And now you've got 10,000. And so then they're all unhappy and they leave, and you didn't actually succeed in solving your business problem of giving this information to all of these people who wanted it. Cloud takes a very different approach to that. So instead of us being responsible for all of those details ourselves, or even hiring out individual pieces of that, we can take advantage of what Amazon and Microsoft and Google and other vendors have built so that we just use those things. They already know how to order enough hardware for all of the people. They know how to lock their buildings very well. They cool their systems so that when it's really under heavy load, it's not going to fry and catch on fire, and then you've got other problems too. Now, all of these other problems are incorporated as a part of the service. So we get to take advantage of technology as a service from other companies. It's actually, in a way, rather similar to how we buy computer hardware and we use it rather than ourselves saying, oh, well, I'm going to go and design my own processor and I'm going to get it built in this particular location and deal with the quality control and all of whatever it is. We are always using the work of other people in technology. And this is why I say this is the next level of abstraction of building software systems. We use services from the vendors who have really, really big budgets to build all this stuff, much, much better than we can on our own. So they have economy of scale that we can take advantage of. So that's a really long-winded answer to what is cloud, but I don't know, that's my take on it.
So what businesses actually spend their money on being in cloud?
My argument is that all businesses are spending their money on being in cloud. If you use technology in any way, shape, or form, you are going to be using cloud. It's kind of like, which businesses use electricity? Well, most of them, right? Like they're going to have lights in their offices or in their showroom or whatever they're doing. They're probably going to use some electricity because it's a core part of being able to do business. And the cloud is really quite similar. It's pervasive. It's all over the place. No matter what we're doing, we're using the cloud in some way, shape, or form, unless, well, I mean, it's really hard to avoid it. I mean, if we use like Gmail or something like that, we're basically taking advantage of the fact that we no longer have to run our own servers. We don't have to have backup systems for whatever email we managed to download from the server, which then immediately forgot about it. And now it's only on our local computer. And so if this hard drive dies, we lose all of our emails. No, we don't even think about this anymore, right? We just log on and check all of our emails from whichever device. I pull up my phone and it's synchronized at the same time to the computer. So we're using cloud in these different ways, but we're not using cloud necessarily in as detailed of a technology way as some people are thinking about it. So that's more of a software as a service way of using cloud. Rather than using it as a platform or as infrastructure that we are using to build our own systems upon. But to be honest, as time is going on, less and less of the stuff that we need to manage is infrastructure, and more of it is much higher level, closer to the business problems. So we'll be using more and more software that's closer to the software as a service type thing, rather than closer to the buying a hard drive from a local electronics store and then installing it in a computer.
So usually three kind of problems that humans come with, which is infrastructure as a service, or platform as a service, or software as a service. So these kind of problems that human comes with, and we can solve human problems using cloud.
Yeah, we can solve a lot of problems using technology of all sorts. And when it comes to cloud, those three things that you mentioned are often used to describe how people are using cloud. So if you're using cloud by saying, hey, Amazon, give me a computer and give it this amount of hard drive space, and this speed of networking, and when these sorts of things happen, then I want another second computer, and I want you to install this stuff on it and all that stuff. That's that you're dealing with the infrastructure. So it's much closer to the details. It's lower level, and you can do that. However, you could instead say, hey, Amazon, I've got this program over here, and I want you to run it for me. And when lots of people come, I want it to handle that. And so that's more of a platform as a service. So you've written some software and then asked Amazon to manage the rest of that stuff for you. And so you're dealing with less work than the infrastructure side of things because the platform provides a lot more stuff. However, you're trading that off for control. Instead of you being able to tell it exactly what to do, it's going to do whatever the platform supports. And to be honest, in most cases, that's to our benefit, because when I get the opportunity to say, this is exactly how it should work, I probably didn't think of all of the things that the thousands potentially of engineers who built that platform thought about. And when they said, oh, you know what, actually, you don't need that. You don't want that. It's better to do it this other way. So I might have shot myself in the foot by having that extra control. So it's often better to take advantage of a platform. The next one, software as a service, is even less sort of involvement. And so instead of us writing our own software programs and giving them over, they've already written the programs for us and they've connected them up. And we just connect to those and use them. So Gmail is an example of that, but you can also get software as a service for other parts of your software systems. So even if you might be using some parts of things, or some parts of your system might be using cloud like a platform, and other parts might be using it like infrastructure. Some other parts might be using higher level services that are completely managed by the cloud provider. And that's actually, I think, where more of the value is. The less we're involved in all of the details, the more effective we can be at solving business problems, which is really, again, the whole point. The point is not to go somewhere, it's to get to the destination.
So usually what problems they come with, and who are going to solve that problems in cloud, and what are their roles and responsibilities?
Could you clarify, what do you mean, what problems, what comes with?
I mean, human beings will have some problems, and they come to cloud and they will ask you, we want you to solve our problems. So cloud is going to solve their problems, and I can see there are so many people working in cloud to solve their problem. So who are they, and what is that problem?
Okay, so the question of who is coming to use cloud to solve business problems is going to be a very wide answer. So different people of completely different technical levels of expertise are going to be coming to try to solve the situation that they have. And this is sort of tying back to what I was talking about earlier, that in a number of cases, people are able to solve their own problems, business problems, using something that is actually cloud enabled, like Google Sheets, for example, without actually realizing that they are writing software and using cloud services. So it's when they go beyond that, when they hit some sort of a wall where they say, oh, this isn't doing what I need it to do, and they don't know how to express that solution as the next step. That's where it starts to get more sophisticated. So in a number of cases, they'll be working in an organization, and that organization has an IT team, some sort of technical team that is responsible for trying to solve these problems. And they'll then go and look into how can we use cloud. So if I'm assuming that those people then are more technical than the users who were writing their spreadsheets and hitting the issue, they can then look into, well, what are the options around how we manage this? Depending on their level of technical expertise, they may be comfortable taking the spreadsheet and saying, oh, well, you know what, we should actually set up a database for this, and we can query against it and get the types of things we want. Maybe they'll set up a cloud managed database, and maybe they'll use a cloud managed reporting tool against that so that they reduce even more of their involvement. Whereas in the past, they might have said, oh, I need to go and buy a computer, and I need to hook it up to the network, and I need to install the database server on it, and then I need to write the app, blah, 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 blah. Like, they needed to do a lot more stuff. Now they might recognize that they can do all of that stuff much more quickly by taking advantage of those services that already exist. So in those cases, they might be using a combination of some infrastructure for managing, well, actually, it's, in a sense, running the databases. If they're managed databases, it could potentially be sort of infrastructure-ish, or it could be more software-ish, or it gets a little bit less clear sometimes because you're getting a lot of extra value around the management from the cloud services. So they're on quite a spectrum, I guess I would say. But they could use something from the cloud vendors that stores all the data, and then something else from the cloud vendors that queries on all of that data, and they don't really have to deal with a whole lot of it. They press some buttons and say, oh, I want you to make sure that it gets backed up this often so that we don't lose the data. And then from that point on, they're less hands-on. Of course, they're going to hit some issue down the road where the user says, oh, it still doesn't do this thing that I want. And then they'll have to try to figure that out and support them through that, and maybe write custom software around it. And then maybe they'll host that, or maybe they'll run it whatever the case may be. They'll just sort of increase a little bit at a time their usage of cloud and their technical also their technical expertise at the same time. On the other end of the spectrum, there are some organizations that have huge teams where they have thousands of people who are already responsible for running their data centers and buying all of the hardware, predicting all of the load, managing all of the deployment across various hardware and replacing stuff. And they're very sophisticated, and they have all of this stuff, and they recognize that the cloud could simplify a lot of that stuff. And so they're approaching it from well, we already have all of this technology infrastructure, all of this weight of technology. How can we move that to something that doesn't weigh as much for us, that is a lighter load for us to carry in a long-term sort of a way? And so they'll wind up jumping into cloud from the perspective of, how do I move what I've got to something that's better, rather than how do I create something from scratch? And of course, these are just two examples, but there are people all over the place who are recognizing that cloud offers a different value proposition than they've been dealing with in the past, whether it's the people that couldn't do the thing in the past because it just wasn't within their ability set, or whether it was the group of people where they recognize that they're spending a lot of effort and slowing themselves down because they're unable to move as quickly, be as agile as they could be if more of that stuff were managed by the cloud. Does that answer the question that you were hoping to get at?
Yeah, I got you.
Cool.
So I can see there are a number of certifications in the cloud, and I can see you are also training people to get those certifications. So what are those certifications, and what is the use of it?
Yeah, so there are many different certifications, and one of the things that I often call out about these cloud certifications is that they're quite different than a lot of technical certifications have been in the past. In the past, not all, but some technical certifications have gotten a bad name because they've been trying to test people on stuff that really didn't matter. I joke that it was almost like they were asking, oh, what is Word 13 on page 83 of the manual that we printed 3 years ago? And if you know that answer, then you can, and enough questions like it, you can get the certification. But that's not really valuable because nobody needs to memorize Word 13 on page 83 of the manual from 3 years ago to be able to do their jobs. So what the certifications these days are much better at doing is representing real world capability. So they are trying to evaluate people at different levels of ability. Do you know what you're doing? And so the easiest level, I should say, is the foundational level, and all of the cloud vendors have something at this level where even non-technical people can jump into this and use this as a guide to their learning of cloud. So they might not understand what cloud is all about, why it's beneficial, and all of these sorts of things. Some of the things that we've been talking about, and it goes deeper and broader. So they would like to then be able to learn those things and show to themselves and to potentially others that they have learned these things. And so they will target one of the certifications. They'll potentially take courses and interact with other people, take some practice questions and whatnot, and then eventually they have learned that stuff. That actually is it's a meaningful step because it changes people from not really understanding what's going on in the technology space around them to understanding it so well that they can communicate with the other people around them. They can communicate with the technology people to say, hey, what if we did this sort of a thing? They can actually realize that that sort of thing is possible, whereas previously they wouldn't have even known that. Or when the other people in their organization are talking about how they're planning on doing this sort of a thing because it'll have these sorts of benefits, but it'll also have these sorts of drawbacks, they'll say, oh, okay, I don't follow all the details, but I get what you're getting at. And so they can make better decisions when they're then taking that and talking with their clients, or they're making their budgets, or whatever the case may be. So it's a really valuable sort of level of understanding. Beyond that, though, especially for the more technical people, the people who want to get in and actually use it themselves to build these systems, all of the cloud vendors have an associate level of certification as well, and sometimes they'll call them like an associate architect certification. So the focus is on how do you use these cloud services to architect a system that can solve business problems. And to do that, you need to understand well enough what all of the tools in the toolkit are. I kind of sometimes use the analogy of construction, that at the foundational level, you'll understand that there are people who are going to be doing a bunch of things to put wood together and pour concrete and do all of these different things. But you trust that they can sort of do those things. But then at the associate level, they're the ones who are actually going to be doing some of these things. So they actually need to know what the saw is. They need to know that the trowel is used for flattening things, or whatever the case may be, in all these different areas, so that when they're asked to do something here, they can actually use those tools effectively. And so it's a lot more technical. It's a lot more information. It's broader. It's deeper, but it's also really valuable. And a lot of people use those certifications to guide their learning to that capability. Even people who have no technical background have been using these certifications to get themselves to the point where they understand those tools well enough to start using them. Now, if they're jumping in without any technology background, they're going to have other things to shore up from the technology background standpoint when they're jumping into roles. So I'm not meaning that these ones are a perfect guarantee of a job just because you get a certification, but they do represent a lot of really valuable understanding in cloud. And cloud is an extremely valuable tool in today's technology landscape. So those people can come in with actually a much deeper skill set in a really valuable tool, even though they have a weaker skill set in some of the rest of the foundations. So it's an interesting combination sometimes that sometimes teams can be made up of people who don't know the cloud very well but have a really long background in the technology, and other people who know the cloud really well but don't have those same background, and together they can actually teach each other a lot more and solve a lot more business problems. So that's the associate level. But then to go even deeper, there's the professional level, which generally targets a more specific role. So a professional architect will be someone who is more frequently going into situations having to deal with all sorts of much wider business problems that they're trying to deal with, and restrictions. Or if there are professional security engineers, for example, they are going to be understanding a lot more of the details of the security space. Even though all of us are responsible for security, it's not that only the security people can do the security stuff. It's that they will be more specialized in those things. So those are sort of the three levels. And like I was mentioning, a lot of people are using these to guide their learning forward. And even people who have a strong background in technology often find that these certifications, they fill in a lot of blind spots that they didn't know that they had. So just jumping into any of these as a target and trying to learn their way to complete it, it can show them a lot of stuff and really teach them a lot that they didn't realize that they didn't know. So it's a really valuable tool, even for deeply technical people with lots of experience.
So what kind of a mindset they need to have in order to achieve these certifications, and how much time it takes to earn it, and how much time they need to spend on it?
Yeah, it's going to depend so much from person to person. The depending on how technical you are, it's going to be either an easier or a harder thing to get to some of these levels of certification. If you're a really deeply technical person and your target is the really the more introductory level certification because you want to shore up some of those business analysis side of things, or you want to understand at a more broad but thin level what the cloud's all about, then it's really not going to take all that long for those people to achieve those certifications. I could imagine some of them, if they're really bearing down, not even having that much trouble doing it in a weekend or week or something like that. But most of the people who are jumping into that are probably going to take a number of weeks to sort of go through the material, let it sink in. Actually, this ties into something that we're doing right now at Pluralsight. We've got this thing going on called Cloud Happy, where we're literally offering for free the training for these introductory certifications, the more basic ones, which are, like I said, valuable for people whether they're technical or not. But we've broken the courses that we're offering for free until the end of the year. We've broken them apart into week by week sort of outlines. So you sign up to this thing, and then each week we say, hey, how about you get through this set of videos? You know, these 5 or these whatever videos. If you get through these lessons this week, that's sort of some good progress. And then next week we'll send you another list and a couple of things to read or whatever, so that people can be making progress. And it might take a couple of months, month or two, sort of a thing for people to get through that if they're just going at that pace. But it's also a really achievable thing for most people. So I'd recommend that people check that out if they're interested in diving into understanding the cloud. I can give you a link afterward. You can also go to pluralsight.com, and at the moment there's a banner at the top of the Cloud Happy thing. So to continue answering your question, you were asking how long does it take people to get these different certifications? So the introductory one, if you break it apart like this and just make your progress, it could take, a number of weeks for you to get through it all. For the associate level one, if you have already the foundation of something like a bit of technology usage and that introductory certification, then you might also be able to do that one in a number of weeks, to sit down and just keep making progress. It's really good, actually, from a learning science perspective. It's really good to break your learning apart into continuous progress rather than trying to jam it all together. This is one of the things that I've talked about in a number of my videos, and the first course I made for A Cloud Guru actually was talking all about a lot of these techniques that people can use to learn more effectively and overcome the challenges that they're facing to try to move themselves forward in terms of learning stuff and their career. So one of the really key takeaways is that breaking it apart and making continuous progress is a really successful approach. People do succeed when they keep working at it. And you'll learn your way forward, even if you're not 100% sure exactly what you're doing. A lot of the time when we're learning the stuff, we're not entirely sure, hey, is this going right? Am I getting this? And then as you keep going, you're like, oh, hey, this is making more sense. And usually when you look back at it, you're like, oh my goodness, how did I not know that? This seems so obvious now, because now you've learned it, right? So the professional level certifications, they'll often take people months and a lot more effort to dive into, because they are really quite a lot to take on. They're both very broad and very deep on a lot of topics. You really need to know it very well to be able to pass those exams. And the same goes for the specialist or professional exams. There's a lot of material in there. But again, a lot of people, they dive in and they're like, hey, look, I'm gonna learn this. This is my challenge. This is my target. And they learn their way forward to that, even though in general, most of the certifications will say, oh, we expect people to have this many years of experience using blah, blah, blahs or whatever. And that's a good guideline. It's not a prerequisite. You don't have to prove that you have this particular experience to be able to take the exam, for example. But it's something that people can overcome if they're really intentional about it. It's just that they're going to have more work to overcome that challenge than someone who does have all of that background. So, does that answer the question you were digging into?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, it's very clear. So, as a solutions architect, what system you architect?
What system am I architecting? Um, I'm generally looking at all sorts of different systems to architect some sort of a solution to the business problem. So on a day-to-day basis, I'm not generally diving into like large organizations, systems, and architecting them for them. I have so many other things that I'm dealing with right now that most of the time I'm looking at how will the things that I'm coming across be impactful for those different people. So because I'm trying to take the information, the news, and the stuff that's happening in the cloud space and make it more available and accessible to people, whether it's in our regular news shows that we do to try to give people a rundown of what happened in this latest time period or whatever, or whether it's that we're talking with people in different circumstances, trying to help them learn about the things that they might not have realized. That's generally where I'm spending more of my time. So this morning I came across a number of different articles of different things that were happening. So AWS has changed the way that they're handling their status pages, and I'm asking myself, okay, so how do we learn from these lessons? Like, what do we take away from their experience of trying to improve their reliability on something that is visible to a lot of people? And how do I make it then something that other people who are more directly responsible for architecting those systems, how can I make it so that they can know what to do with that? So whether it's tips for what to do or lessons that they can think about as they go about, and then maybe apply to situations that I can't even really imagine because I can't be involved in all of those details all over the place. So I'm not sure if that quite answers the question that you're getting at, but I hope it does, and feel free to ask any follow-ups.
Uh, yeah, I got you. So I can see you worked in Microsoft before, and also you worked in different places. You know software development, and you are an instructor, and you are a team lead. So different roles in one person. So how this diversity in you happen?
Yeah, so I guess the key thing is that I look at my interaction in those roles as just me doing my sort of thing. Like it's less about me trying to fit into what the specific definition of that role is, and me trying to find the best match of how can I offer value in this circumstance, and how can I work with the business to help them get value. And so even when I was technically a software engineer at Microsoft, I was also working with advocacy. I wound up getting involved in the accessibility space of people who are using the software, but maybe blind or low vision, or may have all sorts of various circumstances that they are trying to overcome to be able to then use the software. And so I was able to talk with the other people in Microsoft Office about how we could do a better job of supporting them. I got to go and meet with a number of them, or meet with people who were building the software that dealt directly with those people's needs, like screen reader software developers. And they're telling me, well, when my blind users are trying to figure out what's going on, I don't know what's going on from the information you're giving me in the software. So how can we work together to make that better? And so that kind of an interaction winds up including some advocacy. It involves some business analysis type stuff of how can we work this problem forward, who should be responsible for fixing it, and architecting some sort sort of a system, designing the actual solution at a code level, implementing it. Like all of these different parts are a part of solving problems using technology. So it's more about doing things that add value in that circumstance, by trying to learn about that circumstance, learning about the people that I'm interacting with, the motivations that they're trying to deal with, and then doing what I can to support them. And sometimes the right support is to not use technology. This technology is a distraction. We should actually solve the problem in a totally different way. And as technology improves, we can often use a lot less technology to solve much bigger problems. So from my perspective, it's less about sort of filling a lot of different roles and more about trying to provide value in a lot of different situations, which those situations happen to sort of most closely resemble various different roles along the way. I don't know if that's a useful way of, if that explains to you what I'm getting at, or if that makes any sense, but feel free to ask follow-ups like always.
Yeah, it's clear. So you are giving trainings in different platforms. I can see on social media you are giving, and also you are working in a company. So where you are giving training and what you are training them?
Yeah, so I've made some courses which are available on the A Cloud Guru platform. So I guess it's acloudguru.com. It used to be acloud.guru. Both of them probably work, but that is all about trying to train people on cloud specifically. And Pluralsight bought A Cloud Guru, so now I'm with Pluralsight, which is even better because now we can train on even more things. So A Cloud Guru was specializing in cloud stuff, but Pluralsight had a lot of the other stuff that you need to work with cloud. Cloud by itself is not as valuable as cloud with the rest of the technology, because you're generally trying to solve problems not by saying, hey, this is the cloud solution. You're trying to say, I want a technology solution, or just in general, I want a solution. How can I use technology? Which might mean writing some programs and deploying that on the cloud, for example. And so the Pluralsight stuff was much stronger on coding and programming, designing things, architecting, all sorts of other stuff around technology. So I work with Pluralsight / A Cloud Guru to at the moment make a lot of the stuff that isn't specifically in the courses anymore. I'm working more on making a lot of the more public-facing stuff outside of the actual platform, making YouTube videos on a regular basis that give the updates on what happened on that cloud platform. So like I mentioned, I'll go through a lot of the news releases and try to figure out, well, what's happening here? Why do people care about this? Is this really important, or is this more just kind of a marketing thing that they're trying to make it look really special, but it's not going to be all that useful until they make some extra changes down the road? I try to come up with better understanding of those things to save a lot of other people time. And then that also brings them to a better understanding that what we offer goes beyond just the videos that we're making like that, and then also dives into way more of the details and helps people to skill up on all sorts of different technology things. So I'm training people like a lot through YouTube type things. Sometimes also I wind up doing various events, or whether they're virtual or physical events, or sometimes some special things that are private. We do live streams on YouTube where people can join us and ask questions as we're going through it, to talk through some of their questions or concerns, to apply it more directly, which helps everyone, because when one person asks a question, there's usually a whole bunch of other people that are interested in the same question. They just didn't ask it. So we're really glad to get those opportunities as well. I hope that answers what you were sort of getting at, but again, sometimes I just wind up talking about some of the things and forget in the end to answer the actual question. So if I do that, just ask it again.
But everything is related to the topic that you're saying. It will be very useful and it will be interconnected. That's why I'm saying okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
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 So with these certifications, if they do cloud solutions architect or the foundational level or the professional level, so what kind of salaries that they can get? You're saying that a non-technical person also can come into the cloud and you train them and you give them training and you make them become great in cloud. So what kind of salaries that they can get and how this cloud industry changed the previous work?
Salaries are a really hard question to answer because they're going to depend so much on so much. They're going to depend on the area that people are in. They're going to depend on getting lucky enough to sort of find a particular fit where their background matches that particular company's situation. They're going to depend also on which cloud they wind up jumping into. But most of all, I think it'll also depend on the other stuff that they have to sort of flesh out a role in that cloud. That said, there are stories of people who have no background in any of the technology, and they wind up diving into this stuff and learning enough that they become really valuable to some companies. And I mean, I've heard some stories because some people started with rather low salaries to start with. They've managed to like triple their salary because they wound up going into a technology career that they weren't in before. For different people, it's going to be so different. Some people will be able to find that organization that recognizes the value of what they've learned and is willing to accept their limitations if they don't have the other background, like I was talking about before. And it's so hard to say exactly what's going to happen. Now, one of the things to talk about with this is that in general, there are surveys that happen of like, okay, so different certifications, what do they pay? And what they do is they go and they ask a bunch of people, do you have this certification and how much do you make? And with all of that information, they say, oh, this certification is associated with this particular salary. There are some problems with assuming, however, that any of those numbers is going to be what you're going to get because, first of all, it's a range. But second of all, the people who happen to have a particular certification, it doesn't necessarily represent that certification is what made them get that salary. As an example, I have seen some circumstances in those salary surveys where the introductory certification paid more, according to the survey, than the professional certification, where people know all of the details. And the reason for that is because maybe some of those professional certification people aren't they know so much about the details of the technology that they're not, say, the running the company. Maybe the executives of the company were able to get the introductory certification with their very high pay, but they couldn't get the next ones. And so it's not the certification that drives the salary, it's just an association. However, we have also seen that getting the certifications does lead people to improving their career circumstances. It does lead to raises. It does lead to better jobs. It does lead to people being able to move themselves forward. It's just, I would never say that you should go and look at that number and say that's the number I should get if I just get this certification, because there's just way too much stuff going on in the statistics and how that all comes together. But I would recommend that if people are interested in a technology career, whether they have one or whether they don't, dive in and actually understand this cloud stuff. If you don't, you're not going to be able to make a successful technology career long term. A technology career is all about learning. If you're not continuously learning, then you're not making a career, you're only doing some tasks for a job right now, but it's a dead end sort of an approach because all of the technology keeps changing. The technology never stays still long enough for people to make a 30-year career out of it. It's just, it keeps changing. If you mastered the technology from 30 years ago, somebody who spends 5 minutes Googling a particular thing and copying that and putting it in is going to be faster than you because the 30 years ago technology is just so slow in comparison. It's just so inefficient to use. So I definitely think that there's a lot of value, a lot of importance for people who are interested in a technology career to jump in and understand what this stuff is all about. How does it change the way they think? And in particular, like we talked before about how there's infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, and there's the software as a service. But how you compose systems, one of the other things that sort of come up a lot is serverless. And it's how do you take advantage of things that are usable in a way that doesn't have the same structural problems or architectural problems as they used to have. So instead of thinking of the new cloud services in the way of this is just the same as the one before, but it does it automatically for me. It's actually a fairly different way of thinking about it. It's a way, like a mindset shift to recognize that the technology is fundamentally different in how it solves problems. That's this shirt, getting a serverless state of mind is one of my favorite shirts because it's what I think represents so much people's ability to move forward in technology. If they shift their mindset to how can I be really effective using this new technology, then they can be so much more effective because of the new technology that they make the people who aren't taking advantage of it so far behind, they beat them. They move past them. Even people who are career changing into technology, if they recognize how they can build serverless systems in days that basically compete with the entire team spending months or years to build, but they built it in like a few days or weeks or something like that. And if they recognize how powerful that is and they can leverage it for a business, the business is really interested in solving problems in a matter of days rather than costing them tons of employees, months or years. They're really interested in solving that, and they will happily take advantage of that, even if those people don't have all of that other background. So, but it's if they recognize that yet. And this is one of the things that I'm actually trying to help people understand is that as an organization, they have a lot of opportunities if they can see how the technology is different now than it used to be. So, yeah, anyway, I don't remember the question anymore. Sorry.
So, what is the role of DevOps engineer in cloud?
That's another interesting one. So, DevOps is an impossible to define word. Nobody can really agree on what that means specifically. Aside from saying that it's got some dev and it's got some ops. Everyone sort of agrees those are included. But aside from that, what does it mean? Is it a role? Is it a team? Is it a mindset? Is it a system? Is it like what is DevOps? And then what would be a DevOps engineer in that circumstance? If we again scale it back, the point of the technology that we're using is to solve some sort of business problem. And when you solve a business problem using technology, you have to make it at the beginning, and then you have to keep it running. And then you have to make changes to it, and then you have to keep that running too. And so those are sort of the development of something and then the operating of that thing. And people have recognized that if we say, okay, let's spend 3 years developing all this stuff and then think about, is it possible to run this thing? And how in the world are we going to change it? It's a really bad way of doing software. Not only do you get to 3 years and say, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to need another 3 years to finish this thing. And you're not actually any closer to a solution to your business problem. But to try to take that massive thing that you've built and say, okay, now we're going to run it. And those people over there are the people who are responsible for making it work. And they don't understand the system. Why in the world was it built this way? This is impossible to make it run. It's just going to keep failing in blah, blah, blah ways. And that's not very successful. So the idea is DevOps, bring it together. So whether it's developers and operations people who are working together, or whether it is developers who are responsible for the operations as well, whether it's a role that's separate, that's called the DevOps engineer that builds software systems that will then shepherd the development stuff over to the operator people, but they're like an extra third group in there, or like there are so many different parts to DevOps. It's really hard to define that. However, I would say pull it back and say, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to solve business problems. So if we all work together to solve business problems and we try to solve them a little bit at a time, then we're going to be way more successful. So a lot of this ties into, I think, the Manifesto for Agile Software Development, also called the Agile Manifesto. It is a really useful statement of, look, this whole waterfall methodology, this whole try to figure everything out up front and then work on it for years and then hope that it's actually going to work is not a good way of doing it. We should break it apart. We should do it a little bit at a time and learn as we go. And this ties back into what I was talking about before. At a career level, we need to keep learning technology, but at an organizational level, we need to keep learning about the solutions that we're building. If we build some piece of software and then we learn shortly thereafter that, apparently we misunderstood the problem. This isn't a problem. We don't need software for this. That's a good result, right? We've just learned that we should not spend any more effort on this and we should spend that effort somewhere else that's more useful. If we instead had spent 3 years and then eventually given up, and we might never still have learned that we were trying to solve the wrong problem, this is a really bad way of doing business. So DevOps is about trying to solve problems more directly as a cooperative team rather than working as a much less effective and more siloed multiple groups of people throwing stuff over the wall at each other. Does that help?
Yeah, I got you. Because I asked this question because I'm getting trained as DevOps engineer.
Awesome. So I'm curious then, how would you define DevOps engineer?
So just now I started, I just completed the fundamental services of cloud, EC2, S3, database services, like basic 4 or 5 services, and they gave us a project for a cloud engineer, a project. So I'm working on it. So they gave a project. So I have to submit it on Monday. So
Okay, yeah.
I'm working on it by seeing some videos and also talking with you. I thought I will get some idea because you are an expert in it. Also, I can tell to my audience as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're digging into this, and I'm happy to help give you more thoughts and ideas if I can support you at all. That sounds like a great thing. I guess one of the questions I have is the project that you're building. Is it like a CI/CD system where you're trying to take like a code base and then automatically build it and automatically deploy it, or is it like some other part of DevOps, or like what part? Are you dealing
Second
with?
one. There is already a project, so I'm trying to deploy it in the cloud using and they gave a requirement of a client, a requirement, and they said the client needs these many. The client has a MySQL database, so like that one project they gave, and it's like an online bookstore
Okay, yeah.
website.
Yeah.
Online bookstore website, and they gave the direct link on GitHub, and we have to put that using. They said these services, it should be highly available, and also it should be fault tolerant, and also the four fundamental things that it need to achieve. So I have to do that.
Oh,
So I'm
awesome.
trying.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious if you're then using like a platform as a service, if that's going to give you what you need, if it offers the right tolerance, like fault tolerance and availability guarantees of what it creates under the hood, or whether you're dealing with the infrastructure directly yourself, or
Yeah, infrastructure, both. I mean, three, we have to use, the project includes three.
okay, cool, cool.
Yeah,
Well, that
yeah.
sounds really exciting. So maybe I'll hear more down the road. But if you have any other questions right now or whatever, I can try and answer. But it's up to you.
So that's great. You said so many things, and you're doing so many different roles, and you're not only doing a job for yourself, you're also giving that cloud knowledge to other people as well in order to, start their career in cloud. I saw you're doing your stuff is very, very intense training you're giving. So
Well,
can you share your web links to my audience where they can see and you and they can learn from you?
sure. So a lot of the stuff that I make winds up on the Pluralsight YouTube channel or the A Cloud Guru YouTube channel. So I can give you those links. And if people are interested in jumping into cloud, I've got a number of videos that I've put together. Me and other people that I work with, we've got different areas of specialty, different perspectives, and all that sort of stuff. And so we've worked together to put together some guides for how people can jump into all of this. So a link to that playlist might be a helpful thing. It walks through the certifications for all the major vendors, Amazon, Microsoft Azure, the Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and the Google Cloud Platform. And people could pick any of those, or potentially take a look at a number of them to learn their way forward. One of the things that I do suggest for people is that picking anything and then just starting to learn that is the right choice, rather than being in a spot where you are trying to figure out, oh, should I dive into this one or should I dive into that one? And you wind up wrestling with that question for so long that you don't dive into any of them. Or maybe you dive into one of them in the end, and then later you'll realize it was the wrong one anyway. So it's actually more valuable for people to just jump into something than it is for them to try to figure everything out up front, and then they'll learn more as they keep going. So that playlist could potentially be pretty interesting. People can also find me on Twitter or LinkedIn sometimes. Sometimes on Twitter we do Twitter Spaces where we're having conversations about a bunch of things, and we just did one this week actually where we were talking about different AWS services and whatnot, and so that should be on my Twitter thing if they connect there. Mattias like a Canadian EH. So Mattias EH is the Twitter handle. Or on LinkedIn, I think Mattias-Andersson. Anyway, I can give you some links to that too. So yeah.
So can you spell it to my podcast listeners?
Oh, sure. So do you mean my LinkedIn one?
Yeah,
Oh,
the stuff that you do.
oh yeah. So I guess one of the key things would be the YouTube channel. Is like youtube.com/c/pluralsight is the Pluralsight channel, or the YouTube for A Cloud Guru. The channel there is ACLOUDGURU. So that's that. And that's probably the better place to find me. But if you also want to find me on LinkedIn, it's LinkedIn.com/in/Mattias-Andersson. So, yeah.
So I have last two questions. If you allow me, I can ask you.
Sure.
Yeah. So, what is the is it important for a person to have a great knowledge to directly take the solutions architect role or get trained as solutions architect?
Sorry, to have what do you mean great knowledge? Like a lot of knowledge, a lot of background or
Without,
whatever?
I mean, without knowing about cloud, can they directly take solutions architect role?
Yeah, they could jump into solutions architect directly if they want. It's going to be harder than jumping into the foundational level. So, taking Amazon Web Services for example, people could skip the cloud practitioner, which is the foundational one, and go straight to the solutions architect associate. And they'll learn a lot of stuff. A lot of people were doing that for a lot of years before the cloud practitioner was even a certification that existed. It was released later, and lots of people were jumping straight into the solutions architect associate. However, I don't think that there's any lost value in going towards the cloud practitioner first and then immediately following up with the solutions architect associate. In fact, I think it'll make the whole process easier. It's actually a bit easier to use it as a stepping stone than it is to go directly to the thing. I sometimes liken it to like trying to scramble straight up a cliff. It's actually easier for you to take the switchbacks where the trail goes a bit of the height up and then a bit back this way, and you'll get to the top of the cliff, but you don't have to, handhold and worry about falling all the way down or whatever. You're just sort of making your progress a little bit more predictably. So that's one of the reasons I suggest that people take a look at the more foundational one first. But
So if they come to you, you train them to become anything in cloud. They can be the foundational or associate or professional level.
yeah, we have training courses that target all of these different ones because we know that there are different people in different circumstances that are interested in all the different ones for various reasons. So in general, we try not to have too much of an assumption or to make it too inaccessible to people. It's better for everyone if the way that we try to train people is more friendly, regardless of the background. Because sometimes people, even in highly technical fields, with a highly technical background, I mean, and then are targeting something here, they might not have the particular background that we might think that most people would have. And so we're sort of artificially cutting out some of the people that would really get benefit from that training if we did that. So we try to make it a pretty accessible to all who would be interested in learning. Yeah, and for all the different certifications. So
Awesome. I'll put your
and
links in the, yeah.
I should just say more than just the certifications as well. The certifications are a really valuable thing for people to target, but we have training courses that deal with a lot of the topics independently, other parts of technology, various role-oriented things. Like there's a whole lot more stuff. I just talk as often about the certifications because they're a really useful way for people to focus their progress. So, but sorry, you were going to say.
Yeah, I got you. So at last, what is your object? I'll put your web links in the description of this video. People who finds our video on YouTube can see the work that you're doing, and also can
Thanks.
see uh, the content that you're providing. And also, I'll put this video and on my website as well. They can see it and they can find your links on my website as well.
Oh,
So
great. Thanks.
at last, what is your observation about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
I've seen a little bit of the stuff. I've been so busy with so much stuff recently that I haven't gotten the chance to dive into as many of them as I'd like. It seems like you're finding a number of really interesting people and trying to learn more about the different things that they're seeing in their circumstances, and I like that. So I appreciate that.
So I did masters in software engineering, also bachelor's in computer science and engineering, and right now I'm getting trained as a DevOps engineer.
Cool.
I'm also doing, interviewing experts like you who are around the world and who worked in different positions in IT, from higher level to like every level, from everywhere on this planet. So I did more than 500 plus interviews in last 2 years. So how this talking with experts like you, who are already in the industry, who are solving the problems, who already solved the problems, who are handling the projects, and who are already in the industry, seeing the market. So listening to you people, what I'm going to learn and how I'm going to use this knowledge if I work in IT in coming days.
Well, I think that it is such an important thing for all of us to learn from each other. I believe that I have an opportunity to learn from everyone around me. I may be an expert in some things, but I am definitely not an expert in everything, and I can learn so much about the things, even that I am an expert in, from the different perspectives of people around me. So I definitely I admire your drive to talk with so many people and get so much interesting insight from different people, both for yourself and then also sharing it with others. So I think that's a really great thing that you're doing. So thank you for doing that. And I think it's going to serve you well. And I think that it's also really going to pay off for the other people who are getting to benefit from all of that insight that you're sort of drawing out.
Last question that will help me and also my audience. That how this is like you are doing you're talking with computer and you're talking with human beings. Which one you like and why you like and what is the difference?
So there's a lot of similarity and a lot of difference. One of the things that you might say is that computers are more predictable than people are, but that's not always true either, because even when you're dealing with computers, there's more stuff that than you usually realize. So I think that each of those has their own really interesting sort of aspect of interacting. I like both of them. I like talking with people. I like working with computers. I don't think that either of them is better than the other, but fundamentally, the computers are trying to solve the problems for the people. So if we're only working with computers without the perspective that people are involved, then I think we're not really going to be very successful. I think we have to understand that the reason we're working with the computers is to address things that are affecting people so that people can use them and get benefit from them. So again, I don't know if I answered your question directly, but feel free to ask them again if you feel like I'm cheating or forgetting or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I got you. It's very clear because it's an important point that if you say we will know and we can get whether we are doing right or wrong.
Yeah, there's always so much more than we realize going on all around us with so much stuff. Whether it's a computer system, whether it's the motivations for people or whatever the case may be, there's a lot of depth that we don't see and think about. And the more that we can respect that and recognize that and try to interact with people in that way, I think the better we are at being able to make things better for us and everyone around us, to make the world a better place, I guess.
So can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. And yeah, I'd be happy to please share a link with me as well. And I mean, I'll watch it. I subscribe to your stuff as well. So should see it pop up, right?
Yeah. Can I also put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Sure.
So thanks again, Mattias, for giving me your valuable time and giving answers to a lot of my questions. And I'm sure even if any person from anywhere in this world watches you and listens to you, that changes. If you change one person's life or if you help them in starting their career in cloud and also the stuff that you're putting on your YouTube channel, if they get connected with the stuff that you're doing, and I can see your explanation is very, very clear. Like I want to start watching your videos from now in order to
Well,
understand more
thank you.
about DevOps.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Honestly, if I can have a positive impact on the people around me, I feel that I feel that like that's a rewarding thing. So I appreciate that you're doing that as well, and that you're helping me to do that. So thank you very much for taking your time and everything to set this up and being persistent to make it happen. I appreciate it a lot because I know my schedule has been kind of crazy recently. So sorry about that.
It's valuable, and it's pleasure talking with you. Thank you again, and keep going, keep inspiring, and keep making more lives beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You too.
Yeah. Bye.
All right. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, I guess.